Hello to the Leo subscribers, because this is your Leo August 2020 reading. It's great to see you again, and of course I've seen some of you, haven't I, in personal readings over the last month. And if you would like a one-on-one personal reading with me, then just check out the information that's in the description box below. Now, next month's reading will be published on Wednesday the 12th of August at 2 p.m. New York time. I think we'll do it. And so that's what you want to put in your diary, but I'll put a note on top of the comments section by the time you get back to it, just to check it. Now, a lot of people ask me, what is that picture which is behind me on the wall? Well, we can have a quick look at it like this. But why don't we pull the cards for your Leo August 2020 tarot reading and see what is in store for the magnificent Leo for this month. Now, I'm not going to use these playing cards incidentally, but I just happen to like the energy of this deck, so I'm going to have it surrounding the cards to see what they have here. There's the Healer of Discs, the Three of Wands. You may not be familiar with this deck. It's quite, well, there's the Star. It's an unusual deck. The artwork on it, as you'll see, is quite interesting. There's 16 Kali. 16 major arcana. Now, we can talk about Kali in just one moment, but what do we have here as the final card for you? The Healer of Swords. Okay, I'll bring the camera around so you can have a good close look at these cards while I do the reading for you. Okay, let's have a look at this card first, shall we? The Healer of Discs, and it's talking about healing the planet. Well, is it in fact healing the planet? The energy of this card. Well, of course, energies vary. The cards mean different things to me at different times and depending on where they are in the spread. But let's look first at the painting itself, and here we see the planet Earth rising over the horizon. Seeing the sparkling blue jewel we live on seems to elicit tremendous awe and gratitude, doesn't it? Just as it did for those astronauts who've been out of Earth's gravitational field and looked back down. Now, there are dolphins, not only in the oceans, but also up in the night sky. Maybe that suggests that dolphins are also present in other dimensions. Certainly dolphins as living things have souls and have the divinity within them, and they are our brothers and sisters. You are, of course, aware that you are not separate to nature, that we are all connected, both spiritually and physically. You will have heard the old expression, we are made from chemicals that come from bursting stars. Now, this card, I think, can, in that respect, be used as an invitation to evoke this consciousness and awareness, I think. But I think there's more to this card than that. I mean, yeah, sure, you've got an ecological bent to you, don't you? But it's not something that you'd say you've gone overboard with or would go overboard with. I'll tell you what, I get a lot of Sagittarius and Capricorn around here. So I think that there is Capricorns or Sagittarians who are going to be important to you. I think that this is saying that you will be ambitious during this period. I think you'll be affectionate and kind. You will come across as being very charming. Now, in a funny sort of a way, and I say it's funny because it's not normally the case with you, you may seem to be quiet or timid. I think you'll be practical, and this is an energy which is very good for those people who are engaged in domestic work. I think it's a time for you to work with instinct and intuition rather than with your intellect. Yeah, so when I talk about that timidity or quietness, I think you'll be hard-working and practical and sensible. But just to make sure that life doesn't become too mechanical for you during this period. Stay practical, of course, and compassionate, and have a nurturing attitude to others and to your own circumstances. And I think that this is a time really, because you can't change the world. All you do is make your way through the world. So this is a time, I think, for you in particular to go with the flow. I think this energy here also represents health and diet, because this is an integral part, I think, of the energy that's coming from this picture for me. And go forward quietly without an overt attack upon any existing institutions. I think you'll be able to focus and produce things which are of a practical and useful purpose for people. Yeah, I think you have been through an arid stretch, haven't you, on your journey? And I think that you are now arriving into more fruitful surroundings. I think you'll be able to rest and devote some attention to yourself and to your physical needs. Maybe you want to ask yourself, in what way and in what ways have I neglected my body or my outer self? Do you indulge yourself too much, too often? Well, certainly it's better to have an excess of moderation than a moderation to excess, I think. But this is talking about devoting more attention to your health and physical beauty, which is interesting because, Leo women are probably the most beautiful women in the zodiac. So I don't know why this energy should be around there, but it's saying, listen, don't just rest on your laurels, you can do even more. And say to yourself, I give my body the gift of loving attention. It gives me the gift of life, energy, joy in living, and in health. Now, it's important that you do take care of yourself, because there's something coming up which is going to require your inner strength, I think, and probably your external strength as well. Let's have a look at this. It's Major Arcana. What is it? 16. It's called Kali, and it's called Shattering the Structure. Okay, it's all very interesting. Shattering the Structure, Kali. Well, what can I say? Traditionally, of course, this Major Arcana 16 is called the Tower. And as you will probably recall, it is depicted as a tower being struck by a bolt of lightning. In fact, it is being struck by the planet Mars in full attack mode. But here, the artist in the deck has used Kali to represent this. Now, Kali is a Hindu deity, the consort of Shiva, and she is the most powerful form of Shakti, which is the primordial cosmic energy that penetrates the entire universe. And here she is sort of dancing, well, in the Hindu art of depicting Kali with her consort, or consort's non. It's actually last month we had some Hindu imagery in the tarot cards that I used last month. But Kali is depicted as dancing over the prone body of her consort Shiva, who is the lord of destruction and renewal. And here, I think, we see with this band, which is running through the middle of the picture, I think this represents both the ego mind and traditional civilization. The fact that Kali in this picture is larger, and she's larger than the band, I think it reminds us, well certainly me, that the forces of creation and destruction are much larger than the band of ordinary reality that we are usually aware of. Creation and destruction, you see, have a mind of their own, and our ego has little control over that. And the star near the bottom here, that represents the dynamic energy of the universe, the essential Kali energy, that Shakti which is always in motion. Now for you, I think what this is talking about is where it's placed down here in this corner and underneath this card, is I think it's talking about healing. the old being destroyed to make room for the new, a sort of spiritual renewal, and you obtaining self-knowledge, a release, a revelation, breaking down of old forms or patterns. It can also mean, I think, that there is for you something of a period of calm after the storm. It might also represent a time of sort of mental turmoil, I think, as you seek to understand how you could have been so mistaken about a situation or person, which you now have to come to terms with. And emotions like anger, grief, depression, sleeping problems may affect you, as your sense of security in your mind may have been lost or badly shaken. You may feel as if your comfortable world will never be the same again, but of course it will, and it will be better. Now, these things can come about because of relationship breakups or loss of jobs, death of loved ones, or financial or health problems. But the important message of this card, which is coming through to you now, is that with the destruction of the old comes the new, and you will be able to look at life in a much more meaningful way, which is going to make you wiser and happier. There's also a sort of a feeling I'm getting here spiritually of the spirit moving through that ego, that mind ego that I was just talking about a moment ago, and burning out anything that is fake. Yeah. Remember this. Who you think you are is a belief to be undone. You have the ability to restore yourself at all times. Are you ready to view yourself and life with new eyes? Remember this, and say this to yourself. I am not inside my body. My body is inside me. And everything that happens in my life is for the best because it is. Let me have a look at this Three of Wands. I think that this is interesting, and the Three of Wands has this to say to you. But let's first of all look at the artwork from this really rather compelling artist, I think. Three of Wands. And what's this say? She put on my glasses. Authentic nourishment. There we go. Okay, authentic nourishment. Well, in this painting, it looks as if a nature spirit collects food from the fields. The earth provides many different foods and energies that are nourishing to us, and our task is to discern what elements from this bounty support our individual well-being. Each of us is unique in our needs, aren't we? Thus, what is healing or healthy for one is not necessarily good for another. One person may laugh herself back to health, while another may need to cry. Now, in this picture, a spiral connects looks like it's connecting the solar plexus with the fields of produce. And I think that you can think of this as the will spiraling out and bringing in essential nourishment. Now, what is even more compelling about this card here and this energy is that it is the sun in I think the second decan of Aries, the 31st of March to the 9th of April. Now, the sun, of course, is exalted in Aries, and so this is particularly a favorable placement. And Aries enjoys a challenge, and Aries suns are happiest when their lives are moving forward and active. This is really coming through as a confirmation that you are on the right path and that your ideas are now starting to crystallize and produce things which are tangible. Now, what happens is that we have here it's important to look on the inside and the outside with integrity and honesty, with no compromise here. You can move forward, but it's important to operate from a place of integrity before making any decisions at the moment is really what's coming through. And in particular, you must have clarity of mind and heart before action to bring about the best results. And unless you have that clarity, don't act. But if you do have the clarity, then now is the time to act. Yeah, really, really good thing. Pay attention to your own point and internal stillness. Center yourself and overcome. And do you have any reasons for self-doubt? Do you let doubt come across and cloud your virtues? Remember one thing. You have the power and virtue to reflect and to know. Set your sails up high, hoist the spinnaker, and let the wind fill it, because now is time for you to move forward. Which takes us to the card beneath it, which is called Mapping the Mind. Oh God, that'd be a problem with me. Mapping the Mind, the Healer of Swords. I think I'd get lost if there was a map of my mind. Let's have a look. Here we go. Let's have a look at this painting here. Well, there is a woman sitting in the lotus posture, meditating, I assume. Well, that would allow her to open up to higher frequencies. She sees a mandala. A mandala is a object used in Tibetan Buddhism. It's a pattern that people can focus on to help them stop thinking about anything and therefore touch the consciousness that's beyond our ego, beyond our mind. And that mandala is a pattern of wholeness. Now, I don't think that that is just symbolic, because the center of the pattern acts as a portal which allows higher energies to stream into this woman's consciousness. The star and the moon in the woman's hands represent her creative powers, showing that once the mind is cleared, you have access to your creativity. I'm getting a lot of Libra around this, and I'm also getting Virgo, so I think that they may well be important to you. And I think that what this represents to me is a woman, and of course the court cards, this is a court card, I assume, the Healer of Swords, is, they can be male and female, of course, but I'll refer to her with the female pronoun for obvious reasons, given that it's painted as a female. And it depicts a woman, and look, this could very well apply to you, you know, because it's a woman who is graceful. And aren't Leos graceful? Very much so. Very perceptive, tick, a keen observer, a subtle interpreter, an intense individualist, confident and gracious. Well, does that sound like anybody you know? I think it does. That's the Leo. So there's a lot of you in here, obviously, as well. I think what this is saying, though, and of course I'm looking at this mind-body thing going on here, I think that this is a time when you need to use your intellect to make an unbiased decision about something. And that may be this something which came up in this Kali card, where you could have been mistaken about someone or something, or you may need to make a change to move on. Now, compassion and empathy may distract you, so you must go with your head and not with your heart, because that will get the best outcome for you. It isn't a time to beat around the bush about a situation. It is a time for you to decide and to act. Cut through old patterns and masks. And you may say, well, I don't have any masks. Well, have you looked in your closet? And you've got plenty of masks in there. And there's nothing wrong with that. You wear them well. And have the courage of your convictions and move forward. I think you're in the process of separating yourself more and more from old roles and behavior patterns. This may bring painful experiences with it. I mean, gee, there is this tie here, isn't there? Again, there's a real tie to that. But look, it's going to be worth it. The clarity that you gain will set you free. And ask yourself, which are the roles you most easily and most often hide behind? And is it necessary for you to drop them in order to move forward? Observe yourself in your different roles. Some you will continue to play, and to play well, but now with more awareness. And play them until you no longer identify yourself with them. Because remember that your only duty in life is to remain true to yourself. Now that takes us, does it not, to the final card, which is called Guiding Light. Right, that's good. The star. Okay, the star. And let me just have a look at this painting here. Well, in the darkness of the night, stars provide guiding light. I'll take that from this title here. And so I suppose that this card represents guidance, not so much for daily life, but for your soul's evolution. If I can just look at the spiritual side for a moment, and then I'll get on to the practical things. Now in the picture, the light of the star is echoed in the candlelight which the woman brings into her heart. Now we might say she is taking guidance to heart, or feeling in her heart for guidance. The warmth of the light stands in contrast to the wintry landscape which is around there. And I guess it reminds us that even in those times that feel most desolate, help is available. And one way to describe this, it seems to me, this level of guidance, that is to say that guidance comes from what I call home and draws us towards itself. What could more reliably steer us home than something that issues directly from home? It is as if this home naturally and inherently sends a kind of signal. Now, what is this home? Well, it's been called many things. Original nature, being, essence, God. It is not a location as much as a vibration, as much as a mode of being, a type of being, which is different to our material way of being. And we can enter into the inner chambers of the heart and be surrounded by it, or we can find it in our lives if we're tuned into it. The star is a reminder that it is always beckoning. There is always a rope being thrown to you, always a signal you can tune into if your reception is clear. Now, just to amplify this star, because there's nothing wrong, there is not a bad side to this card. It is Saturn ruling Aquarius with Neptune exalted. And the star, well, every woman and every man is a star. Saturn in Aquarius. Well, Aquarius is all about the individual and uniqueness, and yet it has an overall humanitarian outlook. Well, the star shares these qualities in that it is trying to remind you about the divinity and uniqueness within you, while encouraging you to be a conduit for bringing down your highest potential. Now, I'm cognizant that it's sitting here next to this card, which we talked about, which has Mars in attack mode, something of an attack there to it, and this is really following it. And therefore, this card, this energy to me suggests that you have endured life's challenges and have been through probably something of a difficult time, but you are now open to following your dreams and what inspires you. Your ability to let go of difficult times have been strengthened by contact that you are going to have with your true self. Hatred, envy, bitterness, and revenge have burned themselves out and no longer, well, shadow you or get in the way of the potential for your future happiness. You can now practice forgiveness of yourself, or others if you want to, so that you can embrace new opportunities. This card here, this energy is really talking of being fulfilled and inspired by life. It's a reminder to follow your dreams, which give you the most inspiration. Be open to love and trust creation and all that it brings. And the encouragement is now being given to you that although you've had testing times in the past, now is the time to move forward with renewed hope and live an inspired life that you can express yourself with fully. Let your star rise and stay in contact with the earth. Trust your environment and find ways to let others share in it. You'll be tested and recognized by the fruits you bear. And I'd have this thought in mind. I am a radiant light being. I am a star that walks upon a bigger star. I see what can be of benefit to people around me. My creative powers of imagination and my connection to all-encompassing consciousness show me the way to realize my ideas. Well, what a very interesting and fantastic spread of cards for you. Well done, Leo. That's it for you this month. Well, there you go, the month of August in 2020 for you, and it looks like it's going to be a great month, and I hope you enjoyed that reading as much as I did providing it to you. It's my great pleasure to provide these readings to you, you know. Actually, if you do want to have a personal reading, check out the information that's in the description box below and you can see how easy it is. But in the meantime, I look forward to seeing you again next month, and until then, always remember this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.